Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Well, I guess most Nigeria, certainly all of us in TVC are saying a happy birthday to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, national leader of APC. It's his 69th birthday, and as usual, it's an annual event marked by a colloquium. So that indeed will still be happening today. We shall carry that live. We'll see when it comes on, we shall be joining them. We're thinking it's going to be around 12 noon, but you know how these things are. But today is the day. There will be the colloquium. The president indeed is the chairman, and it's all happening in Kano. But onto other stuff, when that time comes, we'll join with them. My guest this morning is Fred Nzeako, our old friend. Fred is a constitutional lawyer. It's been quite a few days, as we say in our lingo, but it's great to have you on.
Thank you, Yori.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Glad to be here.
Indeed. And the reason we called in Fred was, last week the news is still, it's relatively hot, if not, it's warm. It's even more than warm, it's hot. Because I'm talking about the jailing of Professor Peter Ogban. He was jailed for 3 years, sent to 3 years in jail for election fraud. Now, this man is a professor of soil science at the University of Calabar. He was the returning officer in an Akwa Ibom senatorial election. Long story short, he was accused and indeed convicted of publishing and announcing false results. Now, Fred, this is very important. It's like it's a first time most of us can remember in an election of getting, shall we say, as big a fish of this, and indeed convicting him according to the law.
Yes.
We've had so many allegations, they haven't actually led to prosecution. So in prosecuting, that is to say, in INEC, prosecuting this gentleman all the way, this all started in 2019, I believe. This is when it all started.
Yes.
I can see so many parties involved in this, in successful completion here. Maybe you're going to have to look at the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu himself. Yes. Then there's the state high court judge. He was also all over. He was present on all fours on it. INEC Akwa Ibom State itself that has been pursuing this thing since 2019. Akwa Ibom, that's our friend.
I think it's Barrister Mike Guinea.
He's the
commissioner. Yes, the commissioner in Akwa Ibom.
He's the guy.
Yes,
he's the commissioner. So
a no-nonsense guy. I can tell you.
Indeed.
I can tell you this.
And
a no-nonsense guy. He has a pedigree.
He's been on this whole anti-corruption in electoral matters thing for
absolutely
from as long as we've known him, since his very appointment.
Absolutely.
Now, Fred, tell me about the significance of bringing this successfully to conclusion, seeing as it's a state offense.
Yes. Yuri, first of all, let me congratulate His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on his birthday, 69th birthday. I wish him all the best. Nigerians wish him the best. And whatever he's doing to bring this country to a better place, let him continue. God will give him good speed.
Unity is his theme.
Yes.
Unity of all Nigerians.
Having said so, Yori, one of the major issues that we have in the country today is the issue of decision of who becomes a leader at any level. And I can tell you that it is so important that when the wrong people are in power, you get the wrong products, and you get the wrong choices, and you get the wrong decisions.
Indeed.
And that is why democracy is all about people and giving people the opportunity to determine who their leader is. That opportunity is not only a fundamental right, it is a natural right of sanctity.
Indeed. Now,
in decision.
Fred,
now you're talking about...
You say decision.
Yes.
I was going to say, yeah, I understand you, but isn't it more the process? The process.
It is the process that we are talking
through
about.
Which, it is the process. Because the decision is one thing, but we have a process that has often been subverted.
The people and the process. You asked me the significance. We have laws. You introduced me as a constitutional lawyer. I am a stickler to laws because laws make the difference between man and other lower animals. Laws make a society work. And anytime the laws are breached, you see the immediate repercussion in the lives of the people. We have the Constitution, which is the ground norm. We have the Electoral Act, which provides that the decision of the people at the point of voting must count so that our democracy will make meaning. Today, and in this instance, the decision of the people was subverted by a high-ranking university don.
Okay.
He had painted a tar on not only his integrity, but he has given a sound warning to people who may want to follow him. You also mentioned in your intro that a process is organized by people. The major characters, or rather the major stakeholders in the electoral process, INEC, the security agencies, the electorates themselves. The politicians are subsumed under the electorate. These are the major stakeholders. INEC, the umpire, the security agencies, and the electorate. If one man comes for any reason to subvert the interests of one of the major stakeholders, that is the electorate, it is a sin, a very huge sin, and a breach, and a rape of democracy.
It's even a crime.
It's a crime. It is because it is a crime that the man was taken to court, and like you said, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, if we can describe this thing in electoral constitutionalism as a locus classicus, so to speak.
What does that mean?
That means that it has set a very huge standard.
Okay.
And kudos, commendations must be given to those who ensured that this was possible. The INEC chairman, who could, from Abuja, direct that things be done one way or the other.
That's Professor Mahmoud.
That's Professor
Mahmoud Yakubu.
We cannot be ignorant of the fact that that was possible. The man on ground, the resident electoral commissioner, our dear Barrister Samaki Guinea, who out of his nature as an anti-corruption agent and somebody who has been passionate in both thoughts, speeches, and action to ensure that the will of the people prevails, he pursued this thing to logical conclusion. The court, especially the judge, who despite the pressure, because I can sit here in this studio and imagine the pressure that the judge went through. I can tell you this.
Because I was going to ask you,
Yes.
what do you think made it work this time? We've had this configuration where all these people have been in place.
Despite the pressure he may have received from both within Akwa Ibom and outside Akwa Ibom, yet was courageous enough to deliver a sound judgment, to the extent that when the fellow was to be sentenced, at the very moment the judge pronounced him guilty, during the process of locutus, in which case he had the opportunity to plead for leniency, he almost broke down in tears because the sin he committed and the inducement will be staring him in the face. And you know that the way the thing works, two minds will be telling him, there's that tiny still voice that tells somebody, oh, you would have done this like this. Oh, now the voice of regrets. And he pleaded. Eventually, he received 3 years in prison.
Indeed.
As we speak,
Indeed. In addition,
he's in correctional prison.
Yes, in addition,
correctional service.
They're still trying to work out bail conditions, I think, pending his appeal, Abi.
Well, that is neither here nor there.
He's been convicted.
Yeah, he has been convicted.
Yes,
he has the right to our appeal.
Yes.
Quite all right.
Yes.
But the issues are stuck looking at him. The issues are very open. Very, very open. Of which, along the line, as we discuss the issue, I am sure that we'll find opportunity to enlighten our dear viewers about what actually transpired, and then the significance and import of such, and above all, the need for the electoral umpire to continue in this trajectory.
Indeed. Now, as you know, when President Muhammadu Buhari was going to come on, he ran on an anti-corruption agenda.
That was one of the major.
It was a main plank.
Major plank.
And
flank of his campaign.
Indeed. And throughout his first term, there were challenges, including, when I say challenges about the fight against corruption, even the president in frustration at one time said, look, my problem is the judiciary. So, the judiciary. Well, apparently everybody sort of, hung in there. And today, we now have this unprecedented result.
Yes, it is unprecedented because remember that many people in Nigeria and outside Nigeria have called for a special court to try election criminal matters, to try election cases. But this has shown that we have all the laws. Many Nigerians also believe that we don't need special court. All we need we need the willpower, the will, and the strength, courage.
How did we find it this time?
To get it right?
We've been complaining. Everybody out there, maybe there will be some who will call in that have been, regulars on our program, and just about everybody has said that it's the will, the political will to do that which is right. Now, that has not been possible since for some time. I don't know why, but it looks like that elusive will.
For every institution,
everybody found it.
For every institution to be strong, some people who want to be above their personal interests and think about the interests of the society would strengthen that institution.
Indeed. Okay, now maybe Mr. Adebo Adeniran, he is chair of the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership. There he is. He's smiling because I got it right. I didn't go with the old form of it. Good morning, Debo. Great to have you on. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed. Thank you very much for making time for us. Now, why do you think we've brought this to a successful conclusion in spite of all the things that plague us, that commentators and people like your good self have been talking about, the lack of a will to do that which is right? But can you imagine scaling all those hurdles? We now have a conviction. What do you think worked a bit better this time?
Thank you very much. What works better is that our fight against corruption, either we, be it political corruption, financial corruption, economic corruption, all of the other corruption, the seed of the fight against corruption is growing and transforming. If that is the results we begin to see. When the fight against corruption started with the present administration, a lot of Nigerians who thought that corruption will be wiped out of our clients overnight, thought that, we still have people that are committing corruption crimes, we still have people whose cases are still pending in court, whose allegations are still pending investigation and all of that. And well, with the benefit of hindsight and being circumspect, we actually understood the process that it will take the administration to arrive at the El Dorado of the fight against corruption. Because when we look at what happened in Asian countries before they got to where they were, it took a while. It wasn't something that was a 100-meter dash race. It took a while, and it took some new legislation that actually some people consider those legislation, especially in Singapore, as being draconian. And if they had not been that draconian, they wouldn't have been able to restore their country to where it is. You also look at other countries that have succeeded in curbing corruption to the barest minimum. You discover that it is not by mere wishful thinking. It is by actually acting, allowing the institutions to work, allowing individuals with ideas and zeal to champion the cause of the fight against corruption that they wanted. Now, in this country, we are getting to that El Dorado. Gradually, those who have gotten themselves used to committing crimes of corruption are getting weeded out or whittled, because if not that, they will not allow even the investigation to conclude. They will not allow the report to be presented. They will not allow the charges to get to court. And if it got to court, they will go any length, intimidating threats to life and all of so. They want to bribe, they do all sort of things to evade, justice. That is being nipped in the bud by the fact that the administration has operationalized those instruments that make corruption crimes difficult to commit. Even if you want to bribe somebody, you don't know who is looking over your shoulder because you know we have this policy or whistleblowers policy that any whistleblower that is genuine will be adequately rewarded.
Okay.
And you also know that you cannot do lodgement of illicit funds into your account because BVN is waiting for you. I mean, so that if you lodge anything, it is already known to the law. And you have what you call SCUMUL, that is Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering. Now, you can't even transport it, through financial institutions to another country.
Okay.
And if you go by taking cash, there's a possibility that you are going to be caught. So the reason is that the law is now being made to work.
Okay.
If the law is made to work, then corruption will not be difficult to wipe out in our client.
Okay, Debo, thank you. And you spoke about the success of this being partly due to additional legislation. Fortunately, Fred is a constitutional lawyer here. I think he spoke about some of those devices that make it's very difficult to find a hiding place now. What with all these, But could you speak to that part of Debo's presentation about he feels additional legislation also brought this happy day? Would you agree with that?
I do not think it is a function of having additional legislation because there's nothing new. There's nothing new.
Those devices of having no place to hide,
I said
BVN, etc. Those ones were additional to.
They didn't come by way of legislation. They came by way of administrative action
and policy
and policies. Administrative actions and policies. All right, not by way of legislation. Some of them,
because 10 years ago it didn't exist.
Yeah, they didn't exist. Some of them we are now trying to legislate upon to be able to make them more permanent, so that when government goes, another government will not throw it away. And they haven't seen the advantages. This was made possible because individuals wanted it to be done. Individuals wanted it to be possible.
But we've always wanted it.
Nigerians have wanted it, but those in authorities have never wanted it. That is the problem.
Do you think those in authority now want it, or they don't have a choice nowadays?
Yuri, every man is accountable to his actions. All right? And we have always maintained that the worst form of corruption is electoral corruption. Because an electoral umpire that is corrupt is as terrible as a judge that is corrupt. And of course, you and I know that when we shift from the voting point, we move to the collation center, and then result is announced, the next thing, everybody is emptied into the court. So if the major stakeholders in this process, the electoral umpire that will collate and announce, and the judge are corrupt, don't you know that we will remain where we are?
Indeed.
And we will remain, and there will be no progress.
Indeed.
And this hooray that we are shouting, we cannot shout it. It is a wake-up call to others. This is a professor. Now nobody has admitted to be his principal. The man is left in the cold to bear the brunt of his actions.
Yeah.
The man they claim he worked for, Gospel Ababio, had claimed he didn't work for him.
Yes.
The other party has claimed.
Why are you mentioning my name in this whole matter?
The other party has claimed he didn't work for them.
I'm not a beneficiary.
But then we will use our tongue to count our teeth. And
exactly.
we know who the man actually worked for.
Mr. George, good morning, sir, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to your guests.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, first of all, let me congratulate Asiwaju Tinubu on his 69th birthday. That is individual I'm looking forward to becoming the next president of this country. By 12 o'clock, I hope I will be able to watch the event. Back to the topic of the day, Uncle Yori.
Yes.
You remember that the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, Mike Guinea, had been to several times, and this topic was discussed.
That's right.
They even went to the extent of accusing him, when this litigation was on, accusing him of taking bribe because he visited Benin and all that. And all those were attempts to rubbish him and make this case ineffective. It is because of personality that we are seeing the kind of justice or judgment that was given. He's a no-nonsense man. His image was about to, brought down, and he resisted it. How I wish he was the chairman of INEC. All those ones that happened in Imo and other states would have met with the same resistance.
Yes.
And the judgment will come. the judge is not because he couldn't take money. They don't give those bribes in electronic transfer. Dollars they give them. Tell anybody that I said so because we were seeing it. They give them cash and they know how to keep it. But it is because of the person that is involved. They know he will pursue to his logical conclusion that he doesn't want to stain on his integrity. So we are looking for an INEC chairman that will be like Mike Gini. And that will be the beginning of electoral integrity in this country.
Indeed.
I congratulate him, congratulate all Nigerians that think like him.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
And I want to use the opportunity very quickly
Yes.
to latch in on what the last caller mentioned.
Yes.
In the bureaucratic structure of Nigeria, the fish rottens from the head. I've always said this. If Professor Yakubu, who is the chairman of INEC,
Yes.
does not want things to work well, things will not work well.
Exactly.
We saw that in Professor Morisi.
So
while we commend Mike Igini,
his boss,
who
was also thoroughly
big commendation.
Exactly.
Because the buck stops on his table.
Indeed.
Ultimately and finally. And because Nigeria, represented by Mr. President, has renewed his mandate for a second term, we expect that going forward, elections will be fantastic. And so far, ever since he came for the second term, have you heard cries? Cries have doused down. The next challenge is Anambra State, because that place is loaded with money. And if they are able to overcome the challenges that will come from Anambra State, his credentials will continue to rise. I want to urge the electoral commissioner in Anambra to emulate Mike Igini.
Yeah, because Mike Igini
I want to urge the chairman to give him that courage so that he will emulate Mike Igini. And other recs around the country gradually will get there.
So it's like all these people are now keying into Mr. President's war against corruption.
Mr. President, don't forget that Mr. President in 2015 reappointed Mike Igini as electoral commissioner.
Ada, good morning.
Hello, Ada from Jos. Good morning. Good morning to Mr. President.
Morning.
I'm so excited. This is a landmark judgment as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what you've been looking out for. When I learned that it has to do with Mike Igini's jurisdiction or whatever, I knew it would end like this because I've watched him on your program at times without number. That man is a man of integrity and his second nature. He's not feigning it. You know, it's in him. So that just shows that we can get it right if we have the political will to do so, especially to obey the rule of law.
Indeed.
And then it also shows that the professor, that someone is a professor doesn't mean that he cannot err. And now he's a professor in rigging elections. That's what it is now.
Exactly.
Professor means you're an expert in that area.
Exactly.
So now let us try to do everything that we can do to strengthen our institutions. That's what we need now. God bless Nigeria. Let's not do all of this country. We'll get it right sometime Sunday. I'm so happy with what happened.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in, Ada. And Mr. Adeniro, the whole matter about how everybody was working together, so to speak, was on the same page. I don't know that has always been the case. Would you also agree that this instance is because ranging from the professor who is the chairman of INEC to the High Court judge to the electoral commissioner himself who has a reputation, as Ada has just been speaking about. In fact, you recall that Mike Igini was the only one that was returned out of all the resident electoral commissioners. So it's just very fortunate that the president took that decision.
You know, we captured Mr. President for nepotism. But when he gets it right, we don't waste time to comment him.
Okay, Devo.
Yes. You see, the other time when I say that we need new legislation, it's not just about legislation for legislation's sake. For example, there is no defined punishment for beneficiary of electoral corruption, and there is no reward for those who who undertake outstanding activities that lead to the discovery of the corrupt elements in our society. Talking about rewarding those who make things happen. Now, we need, maybe not necessarily new legislation, maybe strengthening the existing legislation and electoral law to punish those who might have benefited one way or the other, so that they will not continue to bask in the euphoria of having hoodwinked the entire nation. Then, talking about working in unison, if the institutions work, of course, institution cannot work on its own unless those that are the driver's seat are ready to make it work. And that is why we don't only need strong institutions, we need strong men and women to drive the institutions. And that was why Mike Guinea has stood out. He was not the annex chairman. He only had a portion of the annex to supervise, and he did it so well that the result of good work came out to the fore, and everybody could say, if we have several Mike Guineas at the level of our annex, it means that those that we didn't, that the people didn't elect to position of authority will not be in the powerhouse.
Indeed. One second, please. One second, please. A caller has come in. I beg your pardon, Debo. Let me take Reverend Dominic, who has called in from Alimosho. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Yori. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good morning, your guest.
Fred Ziako and Debo Adeniro.
And I'm so glad you are taking your vaccine. So I'm getting off to go and take my vaccine because you are still alive and well.
You got yours too, Reverend?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. Yori, there are two persons here. The professor has got 3 years jail. And we love that. But you can't take it away from Mike Guinea. Yes.
For pursuing the case as tenaciously as he did?
Yes. Just give it to Mike Guinea. And don't give it to another person.
Well, when I say pursuing the case, as the resident electoral commissioner of Akwa Ibom.
Yes. You can only give it to Mike Guinea, but not even the chairman in Abuja. Because the man in Abuja could... Yes. You can give it to him, not the man in Abuja. This is why we have bad governance here. That somebody is kidnapped in Safara, and Buhari in Abuja busy doing something, will be held accountable. It's not governance. If the man in the Mike Guinea is strong and firm, the man in Abuja will be helpless. I'm not to comment. There's a professor in Imo State who conducted electoral election in Imo, which Rocha Sokocha lost and put gun on his head. The man came back and said, I did not sign that document. He even made to go to court because of that in particular election. That professor was supposed to be also praised, and so we can reward genuity as we punish those who fall on the side of the law. We must do that. Nobody hearing that about that, professor in Imo State.
Yeah. If
we don't commend people who is firm, disciplined, how do they come out tomorrow to do better? The man has gone to prison without Mike Guinea. I'm so glad. Mike Guinea is one of us who have gone to government and behave well. All of the activists that went to government and will rejoice end up betrayals. I can tell about the man called Oronta Douglas. May so rest in peace. Oronta Douglas was one who brought us the former governor of Rivers State in 1999. He wrote everything against the governor of Rivers State in 1999. You know who I'm talking about? Went into the government of Bayelsa State. He is sound and not whole. But Mike Guinea have remained an activist and a gentleman.
Yeah.
God bless his soul. And
Indeed.
God bless him, sorry.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in, Reverend. As I said, all these things are sort of falling into happy places and are all working together. Mike Guinea has this reputation because, as the Reverend just noted there, one of the activists that was, appointed into government,
yes.
And that the president decided to reappoint him. That was just so very fortunate, because if it had been a new guy, he would have to start from scratch and we will government. But so I don't know how it happened, but it all just worked together. Now we have this precedent, and everybody is saying that, now everybody can watch out, because I don't know, quite frankly, what the authorities could have done better. You're looking for somebody of high substance. You put no less than a professor, a man of learning, yet
from the ivory towers.
Yes, he still, as it were, he let people down. Yeah. Maybe he even let himself down. He
did, because that's why he's in prison today.
That's why he's in prison today.
That's why he's in
so
prison today.
He's let himself down. And Akpabio is, as he said, has ditched him. That wouldn't concern me. I'm not a beneficiary. Why are people calling my name?
That is the huge lesson there.
Yes.
The huge lesson is, if you make yourself an accomplice in a matter like this, the politicians will deny you when the chips are down. Today, the man rigged the election for somebody, and who has accepted to be the beneficiary? Because one of the callers said, in every process, somebody must have benefited from. There's a proceed of crime.
You know, just for those
who must have benefited.
Exactly.
Who was that that benefited?
I'm going to come back and we'll look at actually what happened, that became a crime. Yes. Because there might be youngsters who are watching the program and might not know the actual details of how did he actually offend against the electoral law. But in the meantime, I don't want to keep Mazi Okora for waiting any longer. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, I guess, in the studio.
Morning, Mazi.
We thank God we are now in the Holy Week for the year.
Indeed.
Oh, lovely, that's true.
Yes.
Indeed, it is.
Now, you see, professor is an authority. Professor, the top class. When you have your first degree.
By the way, we're saying professor. It's Professor Peter Ogban.
Professor Peter Ogban.
It's important. Professor Peter Ogban. He's a professor of soil science at University of Calabar.
I know. When you look at that class as the top class in terms of educational backing, as a professor, lowering your own personality, lowering your own class, lowering your own profession into the... Now, you ask yourself, how much did the business use? What did he get from the business? Now, one, he has tarnished his personality, the family is coming from, his state of origin, his environment, and he cannot get job outside Nigeria, not to talk about Nigeria itself. Because at the end of the day, I start asking my people, say, what do people gain when they start doing all this type of business? You look at it, see, sometimes I agree that you need money, but not that of kind. I call it dating money. You got the money. Now you have sold your personality. Now when I saw the man on television, I just pitied the man. I said, look, I agree. Everybody is a sinner. Nobody is a saint, except God Almighty will say this person is a saint. But the question is, there are certain business you have to do. Now my advice to INEC is this: INEC should start as much as possible and go to federal or state government agencies and leave our professors alone. Because now, I think you saw what happened in Owerri when the man announced that, hey, I've been under duress to announce this election. I'm sure under duress to announce this result. Now, what did INEC or the police authority do to that one up to today? I think that one has gone to the cooler, which is not the... Are we saying that this arrangement or that professor, is it a one-sided arrangement? The government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the court, the judiciary, they should go back to Owerri and invoke that professor's statement that I'm being forced to announce this result under duress. So that we know that the federal government and INEC that they are doing the rightful thing. But if they leave that to Owerri to go like that, my brother and gentlemen in the studio, it is not healthy. We have to go back to the basics. But if we want sanity in our country, we must ravage all those past ones and bring it to the limelight so that people will... Thank the INEC man who stood on his ground. I think they said another one professor. They should go back to Owerri and bring back the one so that we make sense. Come back, because if we don't bring sanity into our electoral system, it will continue.
Okay.
So what we see
okay, Mazi.
Continuity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much. Debo, I don't know. The point Mazi is making there, and has also been made here, that this, so to say, victory for justice, victory for the people, for justice, needs to be consolidated. That is to so spread the principle far and wide. Yes. Let it become the norm, because now we've broken that barrier. There is a precedent now.
Yes.
It's not just area boys. It's not just ne'er-do-wells. Even a man of such high learning can be compromised. And they were talking about the one of Owerri. I would guess that you're on all fours on this whole matter about, yep, it has to be extended.
Yes, that's what we were saying, that no sinners should go unpunished. And once sinners begin to go unpunished, it means that we are encouraging more sinners to join the fray. Here's also, those who committed electoral fraud and those who benefit from it, don't get adequate punishment, if they got punishment at all. And the new legislation or strengthening of the existing legislation to prescribe, very harsh, punishment for those who commit those crimes, so that it will discourage others from going into it. Because if anybody gets to a position of power through fraudulent means, is not likely to want to work with honest people. And if they don't work with honest people, it means that the people who elected them will not benefit from the proceeds of governance. And that will continue to be a vicious cycle. And they will continue to recycle themselves. Now, until we the system pick the bull by the horn and ensure that the existing laws are implemented to the letter, the legislature strengthens the laws, and the judiciary in particular do not allow any criminal to circumvent the course of justice. It is then that Nigeria would be classified as a decent and a country with integrity.
Indeed. Femi in Surulere, thank you very much for holding on, sir. Go ahead, please.
Good day to you, Uncle Yori, and your
good morning.
Guest. I would like to be enlightened because I've not seen the new electoral law they are trying to sign into law. I want somebody to enlighten me. Is card reader made compulsory in that bill? Then number two, the use of professor, because the use of professor is, all those professors from the university is very good. So the professors, when you are near the ground, there is no fear to fall. But for a professor, he has something to defend. So that man who had been convicted, he will lose his job in the university. He has a lot to lose.
Indeed.
By that action.
Okay.
So I still prefer that we should be using those people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Femi. Now, part of Femi's, what he said, yes. He was asking whether card reader, it comes back to the slightly larger question that I had, a point that I had made, that it's important for people to know what he did actually that broke the law. Because returning, agents said what he announced was not what we gave to him.
In alluding to Femi's position, which I subscribe to very seriously,
about the professors,
about the use of professors,
of such highly
educated people. The fact that Peter Oman brought himself too low, and now is suffering for that, does not mean that all the professors are like that.
Of course.
So you cannot use one bad brush to tar the images of all professors. It is a noble idea to use men of integrity to ensure that the vote of the people count. This particular one exposed himself and is being punished for that.
Exactly.
Some others
because he was
announcing
premeditated or what he.
Not just that. Election results came. Of course, you know that at the point of voting, the primary result sheet is from EC8A at the voting point. At the ward level, you collect what you got at the voting point, which is polling units. You collect it at the ward level from EC8B. Then from the ward level, you collect at the local government level from EC8C, local government. And that way, the next is from EC8D, which is at the state level. So the point where the professor got the whole matter messed up is the way the results were brought from the ward to local government level, and of course, local government areas make up the senatorial zone. In Akwa Ibom Southwest, there are about I think there are about 9 local governments that made up the senatorial zone, and the results were calculated.
No, his zone is north. I think it was northwest.
Northwest, yes,
northwest.
The results were collected. The professor now tweaked the figures. He removed 5,000 from Senator Beyong's result and credited Akpabio's result with 5,000. That is why I talked about who benefited from that fraud. It was Akpabio.
Indeed. One second. Let me bring in Mr. Joshua in Irewolide. Good morning, sir.
Uncle Yori, good morning, sir. And good morning to your guests.
Thank you.
I hope what has happened will be a watershed in our electoral processes going forward. And I do hope that nobody will raise a motion in Senate or House of Rep of pardon for the man, on compassionate ground. Let it sink that to the consciousness of all of us that there are consequences for actions. Ogunyori, going from here to 2023, my prayer, my wish for Nigeria is that we will have a nation where law and order is the governing rule. I hope and I wish we will get there.
Indeed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in. And it's interesting that Mr. Joshua just said that, because law and order is the governing rule. He's talking about fairness. He's talking about justice, which is the theme of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whose birthday it is today.
Let us marry the Joshua's presentation with that of Femi earlier.
Yes.
With respect to which law are we operating? We operate the 2010 Electoral Act as amended in 2011. You recall that there was effort by the National Assembly to amend that law before 2019 election, which was done, but Mr. President refused accent for one reason or the other on issue of placing of who determines that, and then it became political. Now, as we speak, we ran 2019 election with 2010 Electoral Act. Section 150 of that subsisting legislation, which is the 2010 Electoral Act, provides that INEC, as an umpire, has authority to investigate an issue and bring it to the court of law for adjudication once there is likelihood or suspicion that somebody has committed electoral fraud. And INEC worked on this.
Indeed.
As I talked to you, I read very diligently. I read in the report that there is another case coming up against another professor.
That's right.
That is still subsisting in court. Because it is sub judice, I don't want to delve into that, but
yes,
from what I read, from the account I read, that one is even a very...
Ignatius Udok.
Professor Ignatius Udok.
That one is coming up on Thursday.
That his own is even more grievous than this one. We await the court pronouncement on this, and we hope and believe that same matter will be judicially pronounced by the court.
Indeed.
Either way, we are comfortable, provided the court is allowed to do its work.
Good morning, Mr. Yakub in Dokwemu.
Thank you very much, Chief Yori, and then good morning to your two guests.
Yeah.
Chief Yori, let me begin by saying, let me go the way my president, the fans of this morning, the president of Mr. Joe, go by congratulating Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on his birthday.
Yeah.
As my president says, he is someone that we are looking up to, and then God willing, it will ascertain that position, and then Nigeria is going to be better for it. Having said that, Chief Yori, you see, Mikey Guinea is a friend of the house. He's one of the presidents that I really cherish so much because of his integrity, his personality. And then in the future, I will see him become the INEC chairman. I don't have that doubt in my mind. Because for Mr. President, to still call him back to that position, he sent a long way message to everyone.
And he was the only one.
He was the only one. That is it. Because in person of President Muhammadu Buhari, for him, seeing Maki Guinea to watch that position again, it is a message to every individual that you should have an integrity that is undightable. It is going to pay at the long run. Because you cannot doubt Maki Guinea integrity, because he will not listen to you. We can't bribe him. If he comes to the studio, you look at the way in fact, if you give him Maki Guinea 2 hours, 3 hours, it is not enough for him to talk on issues concerning this country.
That's Mike for you.
Yes, I don't have that in my mind, because I know where he comes from, because he's a civil society person, and then he always takes to his word. And then having said that, it's a welcome development. And then Mikey Guinea, I really love you so much. Wherever you are listening to this program, keep it up. God Almighty will continue to bless you. Thank you and good morning, Chief Yori.
Indeed, thank you very much.
A man does not need so much, Yori, to live a good life.
Really.
So
really.
A man should avoid the inducements of bribery and corruption. Well, that is the message that is being sent in this incident.
Debo, as you know, as people are saying, it is what it is. we have this policy, well, this practice of putting people of such high learning in such a sensitive position. Unfortunately, they betrayed that trust, because the whole idea was that they'd probably be a lot more intelligent and sensitive to what the issues are and the great responsibility that has been handed to them. In spite of all those efforts, we still have people of such high caliber. Somebody has called in and said he actually likes it. It is unfortunate that Professor Professor Peter Ogban has performed the way he performed. But what would you say to the caliber of people that are put in the positions of returning officers? Do we have it right?
Thank you very much. Not quite so. That somebody is a professor doesn't confer the rank of piety on it. A number of professors are falling apart from the high horse of integrity that they were put. Some have been found to commit sexual harassment crimes against.
Can you imagine?
Some have manipulated, examinations, for whatever reasons and all that. There are men and women of integrity in other professions apart from academia. In the past, we thought that academia haven't gotten to. Professors haven't gotten to the peak of their career. They wouldn't want to destroy the image they have created for themselves. But when you go to the tertiary institutions, you know that a number of professors actually demand and collect gratification before they award marks. And those that don't qualify to graduate are made to graduate. And that is why when you get to the orientation camp, you find several graduates who cannot even see the form, the regular form that they have to fill. Some cannot write, text to their relatives. That means that it is not just that they have to be a professor. They have to be a professor that has record of integrity, who has performed, beyond the average and can be rated above others when it comes to integrity rating. Then there are other professionals. We have accountants, we have auditors, we have journalists that have performed excellently well and cannot be
compromised.
To whom, they cannot compromise, to whom no crime or corruption could have been traced.
Yeah.
Anybody that has not proven himself as somebody that could be relied upon should not be allowed to become, to take part in anything that has to do with integrity rating.
Okay. Debo, I beg your pardon. We've completely run out of time, almost. So I'm going to seize the opportunity to thank you very much for making time for us this morning and for your insightful contributions to help us understand the subject matter. Thank you very much, Debo Adeniro, who is chairman of the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership. Okay, so that's. I have waiting from Calabar, John. Good morning, sir. John in Calabar. Good morning. John. Okay. No problem. If John can hear and join us, we're really winding up now. We were speaking the other time about there are more professors. Is that John in Calabar? Nah. We were saying that there's still another professor. That one is Professor Ignatius Uduk. That one's case is coming up. And when you look at what Debo said, there are many other professionals. So you had made the point that there are excellent, in terms of morals, there are professors with excellence in that regard.
Yes.
Lawyers too, they have spoiled matters sometimes, but there is also, lawyers of excellence, judges, everywhere.
That is why
accountants, they mess up, but they are not to be described by those messing ups.
That is why overgeneralization is not good.
Yes.
That is why profiling of a particular group of people or particular professionals or particular set of people is not good.
Improper.
Let every man answer for his own self. Even where people carpet politicians are not being good people, there are many politicians that are really willing and working hard to ensure that things are done right. But for everyone who has done wrong, let us bring that person, and then if whatever punishment that the person has to face, let him face.
Let it be seen that the law works.
The reward and punishment system in Nigeria must be enhanced and strengthened.
Maybe this is the beginning.
If a man does well, reward him. If a man does wrongly, punish him.
Thank you very much.
That is the only way the society gets better.
Fred, we're going to have to leave it here. Mr. Fred Nzeako, constitutional lawyer, thank you very much for coming on and discussing this subject matter with us.